What's going on, guys? It's your boy Trevor B. West, and welcome to the very second episode of my brand new show, The Standout, where I interview high-level entrepreneurs, not just to find out about their business and what makes them successful, but all the things that come with a business lifestyle, the business of life. How do we take care of our family? Who's around us? How do we take care of our health, physically, mentally, spiritually? Everybody's got a different philosophy on that, but if you watch me for any period of time, when it comes to spirituality, I put my faith and trust wholeheartedly in Jesus Christ. I do believe that He's the only way into heaven. And so funny about this episode, the very first episode with Evan Carmichael, he took me down to his studio. He brought in his camera guy. He had lights and professional camera equipment. And it's a beautiful, beautiful setup. And I absolutely loved it. And I thought, oh my gosh, my next episode is going to look crazy compared to this one. And that is very well true. My second guest, Tim Bratz, who's a really good friend of mine, I'll introduce him in a second. But I drive up there, I have my DSLR camera, I got my stand, I got the light. I'm like, dude, this thing is going to be pretty close in comparison to the last episode. And we get up there, I set everything up. We kick off the interview. 15 minutes in, I hear the shutter close on my camera. And I'm like, I don't think this thing is recording. Go to check. Sure enough, it's not recording. So Tim's like, just put it on your phone and we'll start it over. And this is just the epitome. You hear me talk about it in the episode. Your first ones are going to look crazy because after recording it, and one, I was sweating because I thought, dude, there's no way I have enough space on my phone to record a 45-minute video. I know for a fact. So we're 30, 40, 50 minutes in. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm sweating. And I'm praying. I'm literally praying while Tim is talking. Please let this be on there. Please, God, let this be on there. And sure enough, it was on there. But my forehead is cut off throughout most of the interview. But it doesn't matter. Let's get it out there. So anyway, my buddy Tim, again, he's been a friend and a mentor of mine for the last 3 years. I'm in his commercial real estate group called Legacy Family, where a bunch of us get together and we talk life, we talk business, we talk wealth, and we talk abundance in all categories. And Tim he's living these principles out. He got his start years ago. I mean, he grew up blue collar. His dad was a police officer. He had a business on the side. I believe his mother was a teacher, and they just kind of lived the life of you work, and whatever you put into is what you get out, what somebody else is willing to give you. Because growing up, he saw his dad having his side business, making him more money than he was making in his police officer job, but he didn't put himself all the way into it. But this got Tim thinking about what he could potentially do with his life. So anyway, he graduated from college, and his brother was doing some real estate out in New York, so he went out there after college, got his real estate license, started brokering commercial real estate. It took him like 10 months to get his first deal. But his first deal was a guy who rented out he got a commercial lease for 10 years for $10,000 a month. And Tim, being the smart individual that he is, got him thinking. He thought, this guy over the course of 10 years is going to make $2 million from doing something once. I'm on the wrong side of the table because they're going to make money while I'm working every day, hour after hour, to bring in those commission checks. So this moved him down to Charleston, South Carolina, where he started a number of different businesses, but primarily he started wholesaling real estate, buying real estate from people who need to sell and selling it to investors. He did his first deal on his credit card, just like the swipe of it, and he negotiated an incredible price for this property. If anything had gone wrong, he probably would have been royally screwed, but he worked through it. He built himself up and had a number of rental properties, but he got short-sighted. He started seeing the wealth coming in, and he realized, I'm going to get rid of all of my real estate, and I'm going to dive into this multi-level marketing thing. And unfortunately, that didn't work out for him. But it taught him a powerful lesson, because during that time, when he hit rock bottom, he was literally paying for gas with the coins in his cup holder in his car. He realized, I need to get back to my roots. So he moved back home to Ohio. He found the right partners and he started building a real estate portfolio that will make your jaw drop. I mean, at his peak, I believe he had 4,800 apartment units. That is 4,800 apartment units. He built a massive portfolio. He still has it to this day, but he's running much leaner and he's running it more effectively and efficiently. But all the while, taking all these lessons, he wanted to build a community of people around him that had the same values, that they could all rise together, similar to the Rockefeller effect. I'm not necessarily claiming that coin, but I just might. Actually, you know what? The Rockefeller effect, you will find out in this episode. Ladies and gentlemen, please stay tuned to the end to find out what it is. Please, without further ado, my good friend and mentor, Tim Bratz. Welcome to the very second episode of The Standout. I'm here with the #1 business person and a friend of mine, Tim Bratz.
How's it going, bro?
Thanks for coming, man.
Congratulations on the podcast, man.
Yeah, dude. It was quite the kick in the butt that I got from Evan Carmichael a couple weeks ago. And, you know, I was just talking to you about it a little bit offline of just, it doesn't matter what the first one looks like. It doesn't matter what the 100th one looks like. No. But where you really start to see that success is when you get to that 1,000th rep, that 10,000th rep. Yeah. And, you know, you are somebody, because I'm a real estate investor, I came across you doing podcast interviews, and I'm sure you've done hundreds and hundreds of podcast interviews. And somebody that I've just looked to in my real estate investing career, because you're somebody who has garnered the things and you're doing the things that I want to be doing. Not just in real estate, but in family, in relationships, and how you overall live your life. So that 1,000th rep, what is that for you? Because you've gone from flipping single families to now you're in commercial real estate, and you have somewhere fluctuating between 3,000 and 35.
Yeah.
Like, how many units are you at right now?
I was up to 4,800 at one point. Yep. And, you know, we were talking offline of like, dude, the best part about saying you have 4,500 units is saying you have 45 or 4,800 units. Yeah. Right. Like, there's nothing else really, like, it doesn't change your lifestyle other than it creates more stress, creates more liability on you. Once you get to a certain level financially, there's really not much that you can't afford, especially if, like, you know, guys like us, we know how to structure deals creatively. We know how to, you know, get into the mountain house and get into the beach house and structure it kind of like a syndication, and with seller financing and raising capital and not having to use any of your own money or any of your own credit in order to get into those deals and be able to access and turn those liabilities into assets. Like, that to me has developed a lifestyle where I didn't have to make tens of millions of dollars in order to then benefit from that. Yeah. And be able to, like, access that lifestyle today. And so I guess my point is, like, you don't have to get to being worth tens of millions or hundreds of millions of dollars in order to afford those kinds of things, if you know how to structure it properly, and you can start building that lifestyle now. So I was talking with, I've talked to several people, very, very, people who make millions of dollars a year, people who make, you know, hundreds of thousands, or actually many of the people that I know making millions of dollars a year that I was talking to about this specifically. I was like, how much do you need in order to, like, live a ridiculous lifestyle, do whatever you want, da, 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 da. And the number typically comes in somewhere between $25,000 to $50,000 a month. So like, you would think it's millions and millions, and it usually comes in somewhere between $300,000 to $600,000. Wow,
not even the magical $1 million per year.
No, like the usually those plucked from thin air numbers are just like ego driven, or like, I don't really know what I want, so I'm just going to make up a number kind of a thing. Like, I always wanted a $100 million portfolio, and then I wanted $1 billion portfolio. Why? Right? Yep. I never went multiple layers deep on the why. And the reality is, you can have if you understand how to structure deals properly, right? Like I've done with the mountain house, like I've done with my beach house, like I've done with the island that I bought. You have all these different lifestyle things, and you can even do that with a jet, right? You can do that with cars. You can do it with all those things that, you know, the luxury lifestyle type pieces, without having to make gobs and gobs of money. and still be able to afford a first-class flight for you and the fam to anywhere in the world and go on a trip for a month and all those kinds of things. And so it's not as much like, to some people watching this, that might be a ton of money.
Yeah.
To some people watching this, be like, dude, no way, I couldn't live up. The reality is, dude, I've budgeted. I have a house on the ocean. I own an island. I own a 50-acre, 12,000 square foot castle on a mountain. I own like a lot of different, this is the second home, right? That we're at right now.
Yep.
And the reality is, dude, I don't need much more than that, right? I don't need more than that. And that included me siphoning money to the kids' Roth IRAs and 401k, or not 401ks, 529 plans, and my own and like some forced savings even in that $40,000-$50,000 a month. And so, I think it's interesting that you think you need gobs and gobs of money, but you really don't. And as you get to these different levels, again, you're just taking on more headaches and more liabilities.
Right.
Where I know people told me that early on. It's like, dude, enjoy the ride, enjoy this, enjoy the journey. You don't need to get to that amount, or you don't need the ultra extravagant type stuff. And I was like, let me make that decision once I get there. You know what I mean? And then I got there and I was like, damn it, they were right, And but there's some lessons you just got to learn on your own.
Yeah.
Like we can sit in as many masterminds as we want and hear things from people. But you're like, sometimes, at least I'm hard-headed enough where I'm like, let me go and figure it out. Let me go and understand it myself.
And so with that, like, obviously being in your mastermind for the last almost 3 years now, being surrounded by high-level entrepreneurs who are always, hey, what's the next step? What's the next level? I guess for you, if your happiness is not dramatically increased by the next deal, the next whatever it is, what is the drive for you to continue on?
That's a great question, man. And I think it's, and you'd kind of hit on this, is like, Tim, you started, like, dude, I was interning for a home builder, and then I had a painting company, and then I got a real estate license, and I started wholesaling real estate and flipping real estate, and then buying and holding single family, and I graduated to all these different steps until I got up to commercial and big deals.
Right.
And then it's like, all right, well, you're doing I did $100 million deal a couple of years ago, and I thought that was like, boom. And I was leading the charge thinking that, like, I want people to see what's possible. And now that I've got there, my next graduated step is actually refinement of the portfolio.
Yeah.
It's actually doing less is more.
Mm-hmm.
And understanding that, dude, you don't need to get to 5,000 doors in order to have an amazing lifestyle. You can have an amazing lifestyle and then not take on the liabilities and stuff that I had once I got to like, we've had to take a bunch of deals back. We've had management companies defraud us. We've had lenders put us in a friggin' headlock and threaten all sorts of other nonsense and come after us personally, even on a non-recourse loan, and like for things that were outside of our control. And it was like, it's like, dude, I didn't need to do that, right?
Yeah.
Like, I already had the lifestyle. The only reason I want to take on that bigger deal is to puff my chest and pound on my chest and post it on fucking Instagram,
Mm-hmm.
And the reality is, like, wasn't worth it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Definitely.
And so, like, I want people to realize, like, you don't need to go to that level in order to have the lifestyle that you want. And you can have a house on the beach, and you can have a house on the mountain, and you can have a friggin' island if you want, and you can hop on a yacht whenever you need to. It's just there's smarter ways to going about doing that.
Yep.
If you understand some basic principles on personal finance, real estate investing, how to raise capital and deal structure and things like that, you can have a ridiculous lifestyle without needing to make millions and millions of dollars a year.
It's that addition by subtraction that Alex Hormozy always talks about. We don't need to add more. We need to subtract. We need to refine. We need to prune. And then within that process, we can find, oh, this is the thing that I actually care about.
Yep.
So, I mean, one of the things that I know I've struggled with, especially being in that room where people are operating at some of the highest levels, is like, I want these things because this person has it. This person has the cars, the houses. How do you kind of, I remember listening to one of your podcasts talking about your ironclad mindset. How do you just stay focused on what it is that you're going after and kind of shutting out all the noise? Because we get touch points. I think it's like 1,300 advertisements every single day is what we get touched with, whether it's through our phone, driving down the road, watching TV, talking to other people, wearing the, it's like, what do you do to just kind of keep your focus clear and distractions minimal?
Another great question. I think that comes with experience and wisdom, right? And I was not always focused, right? Like one of the biggest, like the brokest I've ever been, biggest lessons in my life was, dude, I had 10 rental properties when I was 25 years old. I wasn't rich, but I was financially free, meaning my residual income from those 10 rentals exceeded the operating expenses, the debt service on the business and of those rentals, and of my personal expenses in life. Now, I didn't have a bunch of money beyond that. I had like an extra $500 to $1,000 a month beyond that. But like technically by the definition, I was financially free at 25. And when you hit that and you're like, oh, well, dude, I got to figure it out, right? Like I got the Midas touch. Let me go and see what other kind of businesses I can expand on. And I got into network marketing and I tried chasing some other shiny objects. And like, dude, I thought the grass would be greener, and the grass is not greener, right? Mark Evans says, no, it's only greener because it's fake grass. It's turf, right? Like, right. What I've found is it's just different grass. It could be fake grass. It could be crabgrass. It could be look nice from afar, but dude, it always needs a shitload of watering, right? It needs a lot of attention. You don't understand how long people have been watering that grass and working on that grass in order to make it that much nicer. And the reality is that might not be your skill set either. And so whenever I chase those shiny objects, dude, specifically back in 2010 to 2012, I sold off those 10 rental properties. I pursued these other opportunities, and I went friggin' broke. Dude, I had $80 in my bank account, and I had $24,900 in credit card debt. I couldn't make the minimum payment on my credit cards. I had to borrow money to make the minimum payment on my credit cards. I paid for gas with the coins out of the cup holder of my car and fucking $1.26 of gas, right? Like, here's a bunch of coins. Like, it was horrible. And but I learned the lesson. I learned the lesson of like, don't chase shiny objects. I invested in a stock that was a sure thing, and I put $10,000 in it when I didn't have $10,000. And it went up to $12,000, and then it went down to $900, right?
Oh my God.
I learned that. I learned that lesson on $10,000, and then I learned it again on $300,000 in crypto, right? Really, like 700 grand I put into crypto, and half of it was good, half of it went to next to nothing now. And you got to learn that lesson a couple times along the way, and it comes from, you can hear other people say it 1,000 times, but sometimes you have to pursue it. But that's happened to me enough times where I was like, dude, I need to stop doing this. And then something I'm sure you've seen me post about, which is the Men Who Built America, right? The History Channel series. And there's a bunch of them now. There's the food, there's the cars, there's a bunch of them. But the original series, The Men Who Built America, it talks about John D. Rockefeller, who's the wealthiest person who's ever lived. Like, his company was 2% of the gross domestic product of the United States. Insane.
His single company
It's crazy.
Produced 2% of all output of the entire country.
Nuts.
When he was, and nobody will ever be that wealthy in proportion to the GDP of America ever again, right? Like, he dwarfs Bezos and Musk and Gates and Buffett. And so one of the quotes that they say in that series, though, is like, John D. Rockefeller believed that gamblers drilled for oil and businessmen refined it. And so he was known as an oil man, but he never drilled for oil. What he did is he let other people go and drill for oil, and they might get rich or they might go broke, but it didn't adversely affect his business, because what he did was, all the people who went broke, he didn't get adversely affected because he didn't go broke, because he didn't go and try to drill. And all the people who got rich ended up bringing their oil to him, and he built more wealth from the people who got wealthy.
Wow.
And once I understood, and I was through business long enough, and I realized that concept, I was like, dude, I'm not going to drill for oil. I'm not going to chase shiny objects.
in hopes to get rich. I'm going to be the businessman. I'm going to refine other people's wealth.
Wow.
So when people got rich in crypto, they brought their money to me and I went and invested it and I got wealthier, right? And when people went and got rich in e-commerce, they either went broke or they got wealthy. The ones that got broke didn't adversely affect me, but the ones that got rich brought their money to me because I became known as a person who helps them multiply their money. And then I was able to go and deploy that capital, and I was able to build more equity, acquisition fees, depreciation, principal pay down, right? And all these property appreciation. And I was able to benefit from all those things because I helped them gain access to those things. And then I refined. I was a refiner of oil, not a gambler and driller of oil. And I'm doing it. I got a buddy who's got a bunch of buddies in the ERC space, like the employee retention credits. They're just making gobs and gobs of money, and it's not something that, dude. I realized that I would have to go and learn that business from the start and
Put
go
the
through all the
10,000 hours of becoming expert in it.
Exactly, 10,000 hours, which is 3 to 5 years. And dude, they're already experts, right? There's no way that I would be able to catch up and compete in that space. And instead, let me just support them, send them referrals, send people their way. And then when they got rich, they started bringing their money to me, and now I'm deploying it in different deals. That's the key in not chasing shiny objects, right? And understanding the mindset of the wealthiest person who's ever lived. Gamblers drill for oil, businessmen refine it. Become an expert at one thing, and then people will start bringing money, opportunities, whatever you're looking for to you, and then you can then refine those opportunities. You can refine that money, and then you can multiply it.
Dude, that is honestly, like, especially with the Rockefeller analogy, I mean, that is exactly where I think most people are so stuck. I know I've been there for years. Literally, I'm just now getting to a point where now I'm not worried about the room that I'm in because everybody else is doing something different than me. Oh, I can't tell you how many events I came to. Oh, dude, let's start looking at mobile home parks. Oh, dude, let's start looking at campgrounds. Oh, dude, let's look at storage. And then we get nowhere because we're not just focusing on what we got. Gratitude that you talked about earlier, something that it's a resource that never goes away. We can tap into it at any time, and understanding our gifts, understanding our path that we've taken is going to take us somewhere that other people are going to look over and say, oh, maybe I should jump over and do what he's doing. I'm sure so many people that we'll never meet, we'll never talk to, have looked at your path and thought, dude, I really want to get into that, but I already got this thing working over here. But the ones who are smart, who think like Rockefeller, will come to you, bring their money to you, and use and leverage your skills, leverage your time, leverage your expertise, and they become that Rockefeller. You become the Rockefeller in that scenario. Dude, that's incredible.
And that's the key. Is like, dude, there's always a shiny object. There's always something. Like, just stay in your lane, focus on printing money, making money, whatever you're good at, right? Like, and the reason most people don't get ahead is because they always jump to the next shiny object. And they think they're opportunistic. Everybody who's been in business a long time and looks from a 20,000 foot view at those people who jump around realizes they lack focus. And will never do business with those people who jump around from shiny object to shiny object, because they know that they'll never get ahead because they never put in the 10,000 hours. 10,000 hours, 40 hours a week, 50 weeks a year is 2,000 hours per year. Right? So it takes 3 to 5 years. If you're a crazy entrepreneur, you're thinking about it, maybe you can get it in 3 or 4 years. Most people, let's call it 5 years to become an expert at any given thing. The reason most people don't get ahead in their job, the reason most people don't get ahead in their business is because they're jumping ship in less than 5 years.
Right.
And they're never become an expert at anything. So, you know, what's the saying? Hey, I'm a jack of all trades, but a master of none. And if you take a look at, like, a general practitioner doctor, how much money do they make? I don't know, 150, 200, $250,000 a year, versus any specialist in the medical field probably makes $600 to $1.5 million, right? If you're a foot specialist, you're making $900,000, whatever.
That's right.
And so, like, it doesn't matter if you're a brain surgeon or a heart surgeon or a foot doctor. The specialized ones are the ones who make way more money.
Right.
And so it's not about the industry that you're in. It's not about the asset class that you're in. What matters is focus and specialization in one thing and mastering one thing. Once you master that thing, then everybody starts coming to you, bringing you more opportunities, bringing you more deals. You're sought after as that expert in that field. And that's the key. Is find out what you can become a master at, what you can become an expert at. And I would focus on, like, dude, you've done a fantastic job of this, of like, I'm really good at communicating, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's an opportunity to get on the stage, and you took it. And now other people see you on the stage, and now they ask you to MC their events. And that level of communication, we were talking last week at the event after a couple of cocktails, like, dude, let's create a business around that, because that's what you're known for. It doesn't have to be like you have the real estate people. Go and print money and build a massive multiple 7-figure or 8-figure business in the communication world somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's social media marketing. Maybe that's teaching people how to communicate from stage and speak on stages and prepare and deliver a speech, which is the number one fear, right? Like, there's obviously
definitely
a need in the marketplace for someone like you to come in and get people over that fear. And you can create a phenomenal 7-figure business, net 7-figure business out of that. And then take your money and you deploy it with somebody who can help multiply that money, right? So now you've got the income generator and then the long-term wealth building at the same time. But you don't have to be the one who's doing both of them.
Right. And that, I mean, this is the power of having somebody who has the wisdom, who's done the things, and built it your way. And growing up in your entrepreneurial journey, I'm sure you've had many different mentors.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, Mark Evans has been the person that you talk about the most. Has there been any other mentors in your life that have spoken and helped you get to where you're at? But primarily, I'd like to hear you talk about your relationship with Mark Evans and how he's helped you grow and think the way that you think. I read the foreword that you wrote for Magician versus Mule, and how he kind of helped you shape from, hey, working 12, 16, 18 hours in your business to working on your business and leveraging out those things like the Rockefellers did.
Yeah, man. I think, mentors have been everything, right? Which is why I'm so passionate about mentorship, which is why I'm so passionate about masterminds, because that has like revolutionized everything. The reality is, though, dude, you can have great mentors and learn a ton of great things from great mentors, but you can also have shitty mentors and actually learn a lot from bad mentors too. You don't want to hang out with them too long, right? But you can learn something. Like, I don't know, like my dad's dad was an abusive alcoholic, right? Non-existent. The only memory my father has of his father is him beating my grandma, right?
Wow.
Like, as horrible as that is, that's the only memory. And then going and didn't even go to his funeral, right? Kind of thing. When he died, when my dad was like 8 years old, my dad remembers that, and that burned so deeply into his consciousness or subconsciousness that he's like, I know what I don't want to be like.
Yeah.
And then my dad overcompensated and was the most incredible father, and is the most incredible father you could ever imagine, because he had a shitty mentor in his life.
Yep.
Right? Like, there were people that I got involved with in real estate early on who were complete slime balls. Like doing shady, getting people to sign over their deed to them on the property back in 2008, 2009, when people were getting foreclosed on. And he was like, yeah, I'll save you from foreclosure. They'd sign a quit claim deed, get it over, and hand it over to him. He'd just rent it out and never try to negotiate a foreclosure. And then he'd just keep all the rent from whoever he rented it from. Never make a payment, never negotiate. Dude, and I was like, oh shit, I don't want to be this guy, right? I don't want to be seen like this guy. I don't want to. And you realize, again, you can learn a lot of things from bad mentors of what you don't want to be like, and then good mentors. It's very hard to find a single individual who you can grow with.
Yeah.
Right. And you're gonna either surpass them, or they're gonna have different seasons of their life where they end up going in a different direction. Or they don't fire on all cylinders, right? It's really, really, they say never meet your hero, right? Because they're your hero in one thing, and then you find out how everything else has fallen by the wayside, or they have these vices that you just can't get in line with, kind of a thing. And And that is most mentors, right?
Right.
It's very, very hard to find. So I had some people who were phenomenal business mentors when I was growing, and they just didn't have the relationships, right? The core values were misaligned from what I believed was the right thing to do in certain situations, what they believed. And so I took a lot of business insights from them,
Yep.
but I didn't have to take the relationship or advice, right? Like, you can learn business from Donald Trump, but you maybe don't want to take relationship advice from Donald Trump, right? He's been remarried 3 times, 4 times, whatever.
Definitely not
you know,
crushing it.
yeah, exactly, right. And so you start thinking about, and that's like a funny haha kind of a thing, but that's a very real thing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that you can take health, insights from, but they don't know what the hell they're doing on the business side, or maybe they do have their relationships dialed in, but they're struggling on the health side. I don't know, what it ends up being. So that's good in individual mentorship. That's why I like masterminds, because it's not a single mentor. It's like, oh, I've got 8 mentors, or I have 25 mentors, or I have 50 mentors that I can lean on for different categories in my life.
Absolutely.
And I think a lot of people join a mastermind because of the financial implications of it. And hey, I can get an easy ROI because that's a quantitative thing. If I join a group and I spend $12,000 a year, can I make an extra $250,000 a year? And like, yes, but there's a lot more to it than that. At least what we try to do in our group,
absolutely.
Right? We try to talk about the relationships. We have panels on health. We have panels on happiness and fulfillment, and like things that really, just because you're firing on all cylinders and really focused on this one component of your life doesn't mean you need to neglect everything else. And so I think I do believe in like harmony of, hey, I've been really focused on health over the past like 6-8 months. That's been a bigger push of mine than necessarily growing the business side. But I don't neglect the business side, right? Sure. I don't neglect the relationships. I still do date nights or hanging out with the kids and the wife. And so Mark, though, has been like one of the few mentors I've been able to find that fires on all cylinders and I can grow with as well. He's very relationship driven and cares more about the relationship than he does the transaction kind of a thing. And that's hard to find. Most people are very transactional, and they'll burn a relationship over losing some. Mark and I have made a lot of money together, and we've lost a lot of money together. And so, dude, and you see how people react when they lose money, right? Mm-hmm. That's very obvious. And I've seen people get pretty nasty when they make a lot of money and they start trying to steal more equity or steal more of the share of the company, because the company's very successful, right? You see it with kids, brothers and sisters, dude, going at each other because they over an inheritance, over a dollar amount. Yep. Are you kidding me? And so Mark and I have very similar values. He likes fancy things more than I like fancy things. Mm-hmm. But he likes fancy things because of the meaning behind them, not necessarily because of it being a fancy show off kind of.
It's like a reminder.
Yeah, he's like, dude, you know what it took me to overcome all the obstacles in order to make enough money to be able to afford this watch. Yeah. Right. Like, that's a reminder every time he looks at his watch. It's not about having $100,000 timepiece on his wrist. It's about a reminder of him coming from a mobile home park and overcoming all those things where all he wanted to do was make $100,000 a year, to the point where he's got a $100,000 timepiece on his wrist, right?
That's right.
Like, that's a phenomenal. It gives me the chills thinking about it. It's a phenomenal reminder, and so that's more what I just get it more from trips. I get more from amazing houses, things like that. And so we all have what we lean towards, but yeah, he's been a great mentor in that. Dude, he's gone through a lot of growth too, right? Like, he was very focused on cash flow for a very long time, and not necessarily on equity or enterprise value. I was very focused on enterprise value and not on cash flow. So I was always paper rich and cash poor. He was always cash rich, right? But didn't have like businesses that really had a lot of enterprise multiple to it. Yeah. And he saw me focus more on equity. I saw him focus more on cash flow, and we've both kind of come center now.
Yeah.
Where now I have multiple cash flow businesses, and I'm still focused on equity. He's got lots of cash flow businesses, and he's focused more on developing those for future sale. And we've learned from each other, and but that's not to say that you couldn't learn along the way. You don't have to find the perfect mentor early on. I think it's like you learn things, and then all of a sudden, when the student's ready, the mentor appears.
Yeah, and you find relationships that really click.
Mm-hmm.
I know I've been in Legacy, and I love the events. Come hang out, see the people that that I come to know and love, and then there's new people, and you get to know them and how they do business, how they do family and life. But it took, I mean, the Martins, Ashley and Jared Martin, are great friends of mine from the very beginning. And it didn't take like 4 or 5, maybe 6 events to where I met Rafa and Austin and Nick Bastianelli, and like, dude, immediately clicked with these guys when we started hanging out outside of the events. It just takes time, and now I look to those guys to help out with faith, to help out with the business side of things, to help out and taking those different compartmentalized areas. Like, oh, dude, you're really good at family, or you're really good at driving it forward, where I'm happy to just focus on my relationship with my fiance and just like make sure that is like firing on all cylinders. But I also need, I love business. I want to continue to build and build something that lasts and can help myself, my family, and the people around me. So I need someone on my tail to say, hey, dude, are you getting this done? And it seems like you found that, because one of the things I think about is juggling. When we're juggling business, they're like rubber balls. When we drop one, they bounce back. But when we're juggling family, when we're juggling life and relationships, when we drop one, they're glass balls, they hit the ground, they crack, they leave fractures in them. So the business stuff can always bounce back, but we want to make sure that we're taking care of our health, because without that, we have nothing. And then taking care of those relationships and the family as well.
Yeah, I think the key there, man, is like, it's finding people who want to be better in all aspects, right? Just because they're not firing on all cylinders in all different aspects of their life, or maybe they lead in 1 or 2 of those, at least they want to be better in all of them. And finding that person and that group that you can kind of plug into and support, like the common mindset of wanting to be better in all pillars of your life, that is more important than actually being amazing in all pillars of your life, right? Like you just want to be around those people who will. And the other thing is calling you out on your own bullshit, right?
That's
like
right.
That's one thing that Mark does is, I've been blessed in business and gotten a lot of accolades and stuff, and so there's not a lot of people who will call me out on my bullshit, right? Because they all put me up on this pedestal kind of a thing, or see me in this light that they don't want to risk a relationship, right? I don't want to burn bridges with somebody who's farther ahead who can help me. And Mark's like a good friend though will call you out on your own bullshit.
That's right.
A good friend will be like, dude, what are you doing here, man? You could be doing better, right? Or don't make that decision, right? That's a bad move. Like don't be an idiot, dude. You've had enough drinks, dude. Put it down and let's wake up so you're not hungover tomorrow. Like things like that. Are little things, but being around people who will call you out on your own BS of, hey, I'm doing this for my family. I'm doing this for my family. Oh yeah, how come you're not spending any friggin' time with them? Right? You're full of shit, man, because how you spend your time is the greatest indicator of your priorities. And you're working 16 hours a day right now on the business, and you're neglecting the family. You're neglecting your health, dude. I'm gonna help you out. Like, why don't you go get a walking treadmill or a desk treadmill or whatever? Like,
that's
just
right.
Things like that, where somebody can call you out on it because they actually do care about your best interest. That's the group, not the group that's just, let's go, man. Hey, let's all run together and kumbaya and everything's good. It's like, dude, being called out on that is more important than anything else.
Definitely. And one of the best examples of the opposite of that was when I was in the service, and I had deployed to a portion of North Africa, and I was with SEAL Team 6. And it just goes to, some people can be firing on all cylinders, and the people that are around them that are part of their team can actually motivate or throw gas on some of the things that are going to take you in the opposite direction. For whatever reason, there was this like when you're outside of the zip code of your spouse, and it's okay
Mm-hmm.
to be unfaithful. And this was rampant. Like
Yep.
it was crazy. I
Yep.
was like, what world are we living in
Yep.
where this is like, yes, I do this and I'm just a POS for it. And this just like, yep, that's just what we do. And when you don't do that, then it's like, oh well,
Mm-hmm.
you're not a part of this.
Oh, this guy's no fun,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Or we'll do anything to exclude you. We'll do anything to make sure you're not a part of what we got going on
Yep.
because you don't do this one thing. And that's a really extreme example. But when we go out with our buds every weekend, and I used to do that all the time, drinking every weekend, chasing chicks, doing things that we didn't even realize were a detriment to our overall success,
Mm-hmm.
our overall health, not going to help us when we want to actually be with someone and build a lasting marriage.
Mm-hmm.
It just really highlights the importance of finding a tribe, not necessarily having hundreds of friends,
Mm-mm.
not necessarily being the most well-known person, but who are the maybe 2 to 3 or 3 to 5 people that I can trust the
Mm-hmm.
most, that I know when I come to them with something I'm struggling with, dude, I already know that I have an ear of somebody
Yep.
who's going to speak life into me.
Those core values are the thing that you like it's easy to see, you know, the surface level stuff on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and on social media, but like what's underneath the surface, the core values is where all the decisions should be made. Because to your point, man, dude, you hang out with people who eat french fries every single day, you're going to end up taking a couple french fries, right?
Yep.
If you hang out with people who work out and eat apples every single day, chances are you're going to do that too. And it's very difficult to put, like, listen, I'm at a point in my life where I'm that confident and that strong-willed, I think, where if you put me in a room full of 5 people who are eating the french fries, who are not working out, who are cheating on, like, hopefully I would be confident enough to be able to change them as opposed to them changing me.
Right.
But dude, it's a Herculean effort there
Yep.
versus just finding the room that you can put yourself into. And it's easy if you hang out with, I hang out with a bunch of entrepreneurs in Charleston, and we all work out every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday together, and we kick our own asses and we compete with each other. We talk a little bit of smack, but in a
Right.
positive, uplifting way. Dude, you smoked me. We have high fives and this and that. And guess what? We have fun too. But um, we all, like, it's a non, like, we would never cheat on our spouses, right? Like
Yep.
we understand that about each
Yep.
other. We health is a big piece of it. We're willing to drink and have a good time, but not go outside of our uh, I don't know, get outside or get loose on decision making or
Right.
doing stupid stuff,
Right.
right?
Exactly.
Like we understand the core values of
Yeah.
the group.
Yep.
We've created that, and so that way, if somebody does, again, we'll call out each other on our bullshit and be like,
Yep.
dude, you can run faster than that, man. You half-assed that lap.
Yeah.
Like, let's go.
That's right.
Let's push a little bit further and push harder. And I know you can do better than that. And let's get incrementally a little bit better. And so, like, finding that group and finding people like that. Um, Dude, you don't need thousands of followers. You don't need tens of thousands of followers or likes or anything like
Yeah.
that.
That's right.
Dude, you need a tribe of a handful of people with core values that you align with. And then that, dude, you can accomplish anything.
That's right. And the world convinces us of we need these things. An example of this environment talk that we're having right now is when I got out of the service, I went to get my real estate license. And I'm a faith-based person, believe in Jesus Christ. But at the time, I had a choice to go work with a guy who was more faith-based, really successful entrepreneur, broker, real estate investor, or I could go with the younger, really on fire group of real estate agents and investors. And I thought, well, that would be more fun. I can stay true to my own faith and convictions and not do things outside of that. Absolute miserable
Yeah.
fail. Miserable fail.
Yeah.
Ended up causing all kinds of issues that I would have never had to deal with if I just said, you know what, this is what's more aligned to me,
Mm-hmm.
what I find valuable, and I'm going to do that versus, oh, well, I can go much faster over here, or I'll have more fun over here.
Yeah, not always, dude. If you make decisions based on core value, it's like the 10 Commandments, right? Like, oh, okay, here's the core values of the Christian religion.
Yeah.
And here's the 10 commandments. If you make decisions based on this, you're going to be good from a faith perspective. You need to understand what your core values are in business as well, and in life as well, of like, hey, here's the things that are important to me, and I want to make sure that the people, like, they're following the ideologies that align with these principles, that align with these core values. If you always make decisions based on core values, everything else will fall into place.
Right.
You see it with people in like, oh, hey, my number one sales guy sells the most, but he's a cancer to the team. He's super disrespectful. He's misogynistic to the females in the office, and da 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 da. Dude, if you make decisions based on revenue, that's going to kill your values, right? But the reason you need core values in business and in life, I thought it was just like some fluffy stuff that Google put on the wall, right, in their office. It's like, no, it helps keep you centered in decision making, of how you make the right decisions. The same way that the 10 Commandments help keep you centered in, the Christian faith and decision making. You having core values for your business, for your life, for your family. This is what we believe in, right? So one of our core values, we say it in prayers every single night with the kiddos, is like, dude, we always tell the truth. Dude, I don't care if, as long as you tell the truth, we could figure out everything else. But as soon as you lie, that's one of those things that once broken cannot be fixed, or it's very, very difficult to fix. And that's a core value of ours, right? Always be respectful. It's another core value. If you're always respectful, everything else kind of falls into place. Always be thankful for all the things that we have, and there's a level of happiness that comes with it. And so be a leader, right? Don't be a follower. That's one of our core values in our family. What are the other ones? Always be your best, right? That's
that's right.
My tagline at the end of it. And it's not being the best. It's not doing your best. It's being. It's a encompassing it, living that way.
Right.
And being your best, like the best version of you. You don't have to be the best or the fastest runner out there, right? Like there's always going to be somebody who's further ahead or something like that, but be your best version in all those different things. And so like those are some of the core values that we have, and that as a family that we make decisions based on.
Right.
And it's easier to make decisions, right? And not be distracted with the shiny objects, kind of coming full circle of some of the things that we talked about at the beginning here, of like not being distracted by those things because they don't meet your core values. So if you're always making decisions, one, you need clarity on your core values, and then two, make difficult decisions based on those core values, and that should put you on the right path and the right trajectory for having good success on that side.
And honestly, I can tell you just by being around you for the past few years that you are absolutely living those out. Obviously, nobody's perfect.
Bud. Yeah, exactly.
We're all trying out here. But I've been blessed by your friendship, blessed by your mentorship, man. But if you were to funnel people to one thing, of course you're obviously a very successful real estate entrepreneur. You have Legacy Family, which is your mastermind that I'm a part of. I've had a ton of value from. You've done a ton of videos. You have your Spill Your Beans podcast. If you were to drive someone to one thing that would make the most meaningful change, whether it's real estate, whether it's in their personal life, whether it's in their family, what would you drive them to?
I mean, I've mentioned this, I think, to the group and stuff, but like, really, like the way that you change your luck. There was just a study done by a bunch of scientists and college educated, higher degrees, PhDs, all these people. And they did a study of like what changes your luck, and changes your luck in your health, changes your luck in your faith, changes your luck in your relationships, changes your luck in your business. Like if you boiled it all down to one thing and distilled it to one thing, what is that one thing? And they broke it down to your ecosystem, who you're hanging out with.
Yeah,
is essentially what it broke down to. If you change the group of people you hang out with, it changes your luck in all those different things. Hi. We're almost done, baby. All right. She is closing it.
That's a strong baby, dude. What the
heck? But if you want to change your luck, you change out who you're hanging out. You change your group. You change your what the fuck's the word I'm looking
environment.
for? It's community, right?
Yeah.
You change
Yep.
your community.
Yep.
You change your community, and by osmosis, again, you start eating healthier. You start focusing more on relationships and being a better parent, being a better spouse. You start focusing a little bit more on gratitude, spirituality, being appreciative of all the things that we have. You start focusing a little bit more on, or you fall ass backwards into deals, right?
Yep.
Just by being in the room with people who are doing that, right? And if you change your community and who you're hanging out with, instead of hanging out with the people who are getting hammered drunk and chasing tail every weekend and not and they're bitching and complaining instead of being thankful for all the blessings that they actually have. Everything else just kind of falls into place, man. Like you change your community and your luck changes. And so I would find a good community. If you can't find one, create one.
Yep.
You know, and again, judge it based on core values. Look at the leader and what's important to them. Look at the people who have been there for 2 or 3 years or longer. Those are the people who have and emulate the core values of that community. And if that aligns with you, then you can be sure, like, dude, there's not people who come into legacy family who don't meet the core values typically, right? Because they see everybody who's there. And even if somebody slips in, they feel very uncomfortable because they want to go to the strip clubs or they want to go. And dude, we have a lot of fun, right? We just don't sacrifice morals, right?
That's
and we
right,
don't sacrifice
100%.
core values. But like we go out, we party hard, we go to concerts, and people swear that's okay, you know, like things like that. But we're also very in tune with what our values are. And if somebody is transactional, if somebody doesn't align with those core values, right? Then they usually either we spin them out or they get spun out themselves. Right. And they say, hey, this isn't the right group. I'm going to go find something that's a little bit more transactional for me. And that's okay. Like let them do that. But that's what I would do, man. I would find a group that resonates with you, that's going in the direction that is where you want to be, or go in the direction that you want to be. And just plug in and stay plugged in and make a commitment, make the 3-year, 5-year commitment into being there and understand, like, dude, I committed 1 year to Mark Evans and that. And if I only committed 1 year, we had some wins, we had some losses, right? Yep. We had some wins in the first year. We had some losses in the second year. The third year, we had some growth. Fourth, and then all of a sudden, and then, dude, people in that mastermind grew their business. Yep. And what they've been able to do, some people who weren't making any money 3 years ago are now making tens of millions of dollars a year today.
Wow.
And now, and what if I was transactional and I thought that person can't do me any good because my business is further ahead than theirs.
That's right.
Now they're one of my biggest private money lenders because their business took off just because we both stayed in the room long enough and made the commitment to growth and community. Dude, everything else falls into place.
Dude, this has been absolutely awesome. Dropping some nuggets, dropping some knowledge, as always.
Appreciate you.
Dude, thank you so much for coming here and just being an incredible resource in my life. But I will definitely let people know where they can find more about you, and I look forward to seeing you in October.
Proud of you, brother, man. You've done a lot of amazing things over the course of the past couple of years that we've known each other, and gotten a lot of clarity, understand what your core value, or like what really drives you and what your values are, and leaning into that. And this podcast is a testament to that, man. I'm excited to see where it goes. And here's the thing, just stick with it, right? Yep. Like just stay with it, especially when you can't see the return on investment. Dude, it's under the surface, right? The seed grows down before it ever grows up. That's right. You know, you can't see it initially, but the growth is there. It just takes some time for it to sprout from the ground, and can't wait for it to happen for you on the podcast and in the communication side of things. And obviously anything that I can do to help support. And I'm just excited to see where it all goes over the next 3 to 5 years and 10 years and beyond that, and how we all grow together.
That's right. Thanks, man.
Appreciate
you. Trevor B. West, out. Dude, thanks, man. Sorry for the technical difficulties.
No, dude, I'll tell you what, simple's always better, you know?
That's right.
Like simplicity in Didn't record, did it?
Thank you so much for watching episode 2 of The Standout. I hope you enjoyed the conversation between me and my good friend Tim Bratz. And you're probably starting to realize that it's not just building the business. My channel is not about let's just build business and find out all the things that make businesses run, but we are actually finding out the things that make businesses run, the people that are behind them. How do they thrive? How do they find success? How do they surround themselves with people who aren't going to tear them down, but build them up? What are the things that make life? Because as business owners, that's what it is. And it's 24/7. It's 365. A lot of times there are no days off. So how do we do it right? How do we not burn ourselves out? And how do we enjoy the ride all along the way? And ladies and gentlemen, we finished out talking about, Tim and I, community. How powerful a community of people who think like you do, who are going to call you out on your crap, not from a demeaning way or a condescending way, but hey man, I know that you're better than this. I know that you can do better. So how can we together get you to that spot? And it reminds me so much of the life of Jesus, because he built a community of people that were around him that were willing to step up. They were willing to call each other out, because Jesus called his 12 disciples to him. And it was a community of people who believed in something in order to change the entire world. Literally, those 13 people, of course, Jesus being the foundation of that, they all changed the world. 3-year ministry, 13 people completely turned the face of what it means to have a relationship with your Creator on its head, and it's so incredibly powerful, and they couldn't have done it without each other. Jesus could not have done that without his 12 disciples, because after he ascended back into heaven, they all went out to preach the gospel for years and were brutally murdered and martyred for that belief. So hopefully the communities that we're surrounding ourselves in are not the ones where we're going to be brutally murdered. However, yes, I'm laughing, but at the same time, I ask you, what are you willing to die for? I mean that wholeheartedly. I just had this thought earlier today. It's like, how many of us are walking around the world and we have nothing that we would die for? We would lay our lives down. Really ask yourself, would you really die for your family? Would you really die for your friends? Would you really die for your relationship to your Creator? I'm hoping that it's Jesus, but would you put your life on the line for it? What are you living for, and what are you willing to die for? Oh, and I don't think I've had quite enough videos out for you to notice, but peep the bling, baby. Right now in St. Croix in the Virgin Islands on my honeymoon. My beautiful bride is just inside. We're about to go get some dinner. And being married is an absolute game changer. If you're out there thinking, oh, well, should I do it? Get it done. Stop messing around and put a ring on that thing, because it has absolutely changed the fabric of our relationship and how we connect. It is amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, please stay tuned for episode 3 of The Standout, coming to you very soon. Trevor B. West, out.